So we're down here with Josh from Hastings Auto Electrical, and this is sort of all the behind the scenes, I guess, of it coming together, because I wanted to film some stuff when you could actually see it, because once it's on the car, it's very hard to actually know what's going on. So I thought Josh here could run us through a few of these bits and pieces, because I don't know what half this stuff is I'm looking at. Obviously before I was just running a DC to DC from the starter battery through to the inverter and stuff like this. This system's obviously a little bit more advanced.
It is, 100%.
So, this being the backboard.
Yep.
And then this here being what's going to come in over it. But you're today, not finished yet,
yep.
But you're piecing, building all the backboard together.
Yeah, so I guess what we're doing, this is pretty much REDARC's top of the range. Yeah. Full red vision, 2000 watt inverter. You know, your BMS system, 3 different ways of charging through this unit.
This one here is your DC-DC kinda, an advanced version of it?
Yeah, it's like a big version. So you've got the DC-DC built into it.
Yeah.
You've got your solar input built into it as well as AC, so 240 charge.
Okay.
So we can basically plug mains into this to charge the battery as well.
So that gives you the ability to do that, run solar and charge off the car itself. So you've got your 3 ways there of charging the system.
Yeah, 100%. And then I guess the next thing is we do have a shunted system which comes with this. This allows like the full monitoring through everything through the screen, so you can see your charge rates going in. You can see your discharge through through either your fridge, your travel buddy, any 12 volt accessory, as well as your 240 volt stuff. So you can run anything from you could run a 240 volt fan in your canopy if you wanted to, all the way through to like a induction cooktop. You can run power tools, you can charge all your batteries, you can virtually do anything that you want to do, upwards of sort of 2000.
So is the shunt sort of the place that gathers the information from these and then sends it over to the screen?
Basically, yeah. It all works in conjunction with each other. All these different things that we can see here, they're all interlinked to each other. They all run like an R-bus, like a CAN communication sort of connectivity. So we've got communication to here, from here to here, from here to here, from here to the monitor.
And so what's this one do here? That's got all your fuses in it? Fuse box and your distribution box.
It is, yeah. So basically how it works is this is, you've got like some 10 amp loads and some 30 amp loads. This is all your fusing and effectively like your switch box.
Yeah.
So the monitor communicates to this and it can turn all these different outputs on, as well as it monitors your charge system going in and then out through to the auxiliary battery as well.
Once it's together, this is going to come on, and this will obviously be all sort of hidden away.
It is,
and then you'll be able to run everything from your REDARC screen there as well.
Yeah, you can for sure. Yeah, the cover plate's just to make it look aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
It suits in with the G-Works canopies as well. We obviously built that in conjunction with them to suit everything. So, and this one we haven't done a powder coated one before, so we usually just do a raw alley.
Yeah.
We've gone to a black powder coat to suit your new canopy. So.
Yeah, just make it look a bit nicer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, and we can kind of show you what it looks like when the sleeves are finished.
Go up and at that.
That's going to be your final product once you finish wiring it all up underneath.
Yeah, so this is
the battery that's going to run it all.
Yeah.
The 200 amp hour Invicta. 3 ways to power your battery. You got driving your car, solar on your roof, or charging off mains power.
You can just idle your car.
Yeah.
So the beauty with this charge system, you don't actually have to put the car under any load.
Okay.
This will actually generate the amperage to charge that.
So does that meaning it overrides the modern smart alternators?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So you don't need to get them to that certain charge and then they then start sending power here and all that sort of stuff. 100%.
We're not relying on the alternator too heavily to basically load the engine up.
Yeah.
To effectively then charge your auxiliary battery. We're using a modern, computerized sort of unit to do that. So.
Yeah, perfect. Won't take up too much of your time then. Let you keep building
we better get it finished.
That's the old dual battery system all fully pulled out and unwired now, because obviously we don't need it anymore. Look, it wasn't too bad in there behind the seat, but it was always a little bit squishy and messy and that little bit hard to access. I still had the inverter sort of on the floor. It worked, it was decent, but yeah, the new one's going to be much nicer and cleaner and easy to access and everything where it's going to be. Alright, so we're down here at G-Works now up to phase 2 of this electrical build. So the first one being at Hastings Auto Electrical, where Josh built this board and put it all together. Now before the canopy goes on the nav, it's just easier to mount and put it all together when it's just sitting on the roller here. So basically now today Josh is mounting it all up on the backboard there, so nice and sturdy with big bolts along the whole thing, so it's not going to move or go anywhere. Just making some brackets to mount this battery, so that's the 200 amp hour lithium. Not heaps of weight to it, but being this 200 amps, it's still, I think there may be 20-ish kilos. And then there's not really heaps else to do, so we just need to work out where the wiring is going to go through the back and then into the headboard, and then obviously run through from there. So just working out some measurements. Put the cover and faceplate on, and then it's pretty much all done and together for this stage. Then we can put the tray and canopy on the nav, and then once it's all on there, can take it back to Hastings Auto Electrical and finish up all the wiring and all the finishing touches and get it all working and everything. But it's coming together so good. It's going to be awesome once it's all finished. And then the other reason that Josh fits it all up now is because it takes up a decent amount of room in the canopy. It just means then we can work out the exact measurements of the drawers and other bits and pieces we want to place around it. So it's sort of one of the main things that you get in first there. Okay, we're back down Hastings Auto Electrical now for phase 3 of the build. Well, kind of. I've actually already done it. So phase 3, once it was installed there at the canopy at G-Works, they put the canopy on the car, do all that, get it all ready, then it comes back here where Hastings finish wiring it all up and fully installing the system. And then it is a little bit ahead of time. I didn't actually get to film this bit on the day I picked it up, so I've come back to film it. I've already had the car away on a trip, and it's all sort of as it is now. So I've been using it for around a month or so. We had it over Christmas, and then down to the Victorian high country, and I'm back from that. But I just wanted to do a final run through of the system, how it all works, how it's all set up, go through some of the main questions with the guys here that people have been asking me about the system. And so far I'm just absolutely blown away with it. Like, it is an expensive, top of the line dual battery system, but you get what you pay for, and it's, you know, it's incredible. Just can't believe how efficiently it all works together and runs, and, you know, keeps me going on the road. And, you know, for some people, they've got a very basic dual battery system that doesn't cost much at all, which is perfectly fine for them. And, you know, that's what I used to originally run. But the thing for me being that I do this full time, I'm always on the road, I'm always living out of it, and I have such high demand for charging all my camera gear and everything I do on the road. You know, it made sense, and it's kind of a necessity for me to, you know, have the high quality dual battery system. But obviously a system like this isn't going to be for everyone, you know, depending on what you're using it for, depending on what you're doing with it. So I've just popped the nav here in the workshop because it's raining outside, so I'm going to get out in and out of the rain and run through the system. And then excuse the mess, the car's just set up as it is and as it has been. So as I said, here it is, fully wired, set up and running, which it has been for the last month or so now that I've been using it. And I'll just run through some of the features of it and try and explain like how it all works, because I want to do this video just to give some more detail of the dual battery system, rather than just quickly showing it in the tray and canopy video I did, you know, fully run through it. Here's obviously your back board all installed across your canopy wall here. Here's your Red Vision all functioning and working. Hastings did the central locking here, so that's all linked up with the car. So I'll grab my key. There you can lock and unlock your canopy locks with the car, which is super cool. It obviously keeps everything safe and protected in there. And then you've got lighting on both sides of the canopy there too, which they did. So that can be turned on and off, a bit bright on the camera, but you got your white, your bug light, more your orangey type, and then that's just a bit of a, I don't know, it's like two whites there, a bit of in between. We've got the fridge here, the 85 litre Bushman's, which is run by the dual battery system. There's a fridge, it's not actually turned on at the moment or running. On this side, we've got a heap of outlets here. So you got your two house mains, your two 240 volt outlets running from your inverter. So your inverter being converts your DC, your battery, you know, car charge through to AC, which is house power. So there's your two inverter ones. We've got a heap more plugs here, being that I always charge lots of gear. So I got two 12 volt ones, and then I got 4 USB there, or USB there, and I got a couple Anderson plugs too. The fridge is already pre-wired via an Anderson plug. And then same over here on the other side, we got the two Andersons, and then we got two 12 volts and two USB. And honestly, like, I'll use, like, you know, commonly 8 or so USB points of a night by the time I'm charging, you know, me and my Demi's phone, and then I'm charging 3 or 4 GoPros and something on the drone and something on the camera. It stacks up quick. Here's your mains power. So that's one of the main benefits, which we spoke about earlier, of this Manager 30, which is, you know, basically a super advanced DC-DC charger, but it has the ability to charge your battery and all your system via mains. So you can actually plug your mains point into there when you're parked up at home or parked up at a caravan park, you know, anything like that. Bit hard to see, but there's our fuse box, which we can access should we need to change any fuses. And once again, obviously central locking and lights over this side. Bit close on the camera there. What I'll do is I'll run through the Red Vision screen, what it does and how some of all this system functions. Actually, here's the coolest part of it. Actually got this little light. Can you see it on the camera? Yeah. And your red light, backlight, the whole system there. So overnight that looks super cool. But here it is, your REDARC Red Vision, your full functional display screen here that you can change, monitor, do everything on. So here's the main one I'm using. This is to turn your lights on and off. You can also turn them on and off at their actual switches, but that's to put them on and off. There's your backlight. You can turn your USB points and your 12 volt points on and off. Some of the, sorry, I go back there. Some of the other things are locked. So these are like your fridge and can't remember. A couple of things I've just locked, which are like, you're not really going to need to turn them off because you can just turn them all off. Like the fridge, you can turn off at the fridge itself. But we have left the inverter. So that's the inverter turning on and off because it draws about 2 amps an hour. I think they said it was. Even when you're not actually charging anything on it, just the inverter running itself will draw power. So you want the ability to turn that off when you're not using it. The main things you're looking at here all the time, you've got how much charge your battery system has. So mine's at 100% because I haven't got anything turned on and I've been driving around and lately and I've kept the charge, you know, stayed charged up. I haven't taken anything out of it, saying it's full. Gives me a time here. The time is 10:20. Gives me a couple of temperatures here. So 22 is the temperature of my fridge because it's not turned on, and 24 is the temperature actually of around here, like internal of your canopy or inside your headboard. Not your headboard, inside your battery box thing here. And then that is the water tank level. So there's a water tank sensor in my 60 litre water tank, and that tells me how much water I have remaining rather than just guessing and not knowing, which is super cool. And then if we come over to the next page, here's what's going in and out of your battery. So this is a little bit confusing. So this is 2.2 amps. I think this is coming out of the battery and this is like appliances using it. So it's, yeah, 2.2. So that's what the inverter's drawing right now just because I've turned it on. And here's what's going into the car. And there's nothing actually going into the car at the moment because I'm parked in the shed, so the solar's not working and it's not driving. So if I was to turn that on, you'd start seeing your amps going in. I won't bore everyone to death for a half hour here, but there's lots of cool features on that and lots of things you can do with it and how you can monitor and control everything from it, which is kind of the idea of this whole system. This whole system is linked together so everything can be controlled and monitored. And the other super cool thing, which I'll show you, I've actually got the app on my phone. So here's the Red Vision REDARC app. Open it up, it will connect to your device, and then you can monitor and see everything from here too. So I can see my water tank's full, I can see there that charge happening, I can see, you know, my fridge temperature, the headboard internal temperature. I can go over here and I can control everything. So I can turn the LED backlighting on. They've all obviously been named. LED canopy lighting driver's side, passenger side, driver's side USB and AC sockets. Turn them on and off. You know, I won't stand here and name everything, but it's all there and you can go through and do it all. The good thing about that being, if you're sitting at camp and you want to be lazy, you can turn things on and off from the seat by the fire. And I know a lot of people will just say, like, sit this in the car when they're driving. You know, people sit their phones on a hands-free thing to play music or, you know, make phone calls or whatever. And you can monitor everything as you're driving. So, for example, Mitch was saying he has a dog box in the back that his dog travels in. So, you know, he can keep an eye on the temperature there in the internal of the canopy to know how hot it is. You can see your fridge temperature, and you can see how much power you're going in and out, so you can monitor the whole system externally all the time. I wrote down a little bit of a list, so I'm trying to remember to cover everything on this system here so I don't miss out on things. I'll try to pop up the top here to show this solar panel, because we haven't talked about that yet. So up on top, 120 watt REDARC solar panel, permanently mounted there, permanently hooked up, so that will always be pulling charge, providing it's getting sun, obviously not in the shed. Made a couple of brackets there, so that sits on top of the rooftop tent. And then the guys here said it's 6 amps of, hang on, I wrote it down. 6 amp charge in full sun is what that solar blanket will give. You know, it's only a smallish one, 120 watt, but I've definitely noticed if you're sitting at, you know, at camp during the day or even at home and I'm running the fridge, it will just stop that dual battery system draining down so fast. It'll really help it stabilize itself. And then the cool thing of the solar panel is it will prioritize the solar panel. So what that means is when you're driving, if you're driving in the sun, the solar panel will still actually work and draw power into the system. So being that it's a manager 30, meaning it can draw 30 amps of charge into this system as you're going. Say the solar panel's in full sun, it will draw in that 6, and then it'll draw 24 from your alternator to make up your 30. You can't actually go over that 30, but it'll prioritize that solar panel. Or if you're not in the sun or it's a rainy day, it'll just draw that full 30 amps out of your alternator. And then if you're charging it at home, you can draw 30 amps out of your house mains power too. So that's, you know, how you're powering it all up. The other thing I wrote down on my phone to mention is, being that it's in the canopy, because this is a removable canopy, so I can take it off, you know, if I just want my flat tray back for whatever reason, or I want to do some harder tracks. What do you do if you do a battery system? You just individually pull the whole thing apart. Like, how's that work? So it's just 1 or 2, I forget, 1 or 2 Anderson plugs in underneath. They've tucked them in underneath the tray there. Pull them out, and then the whole system's disconnected, and it will come off with the canopy. So it's pretty simple to do that. And then what I'll do now, because I've run through all this stuff I know, I'm going to get Mitch from Hastings Auto Electrical to come in. I'm going to get him to answer some of the questions I've been getting about this system, because I figured that he would be a little bit more qualified than me to answer them, and because he, you know, obviously helped Josh build and install the whole system. You know, he works here at Hastings. Well, own it, work here, yeah. whatever you want to call it. All right, so I just wrote down 5 key questions, which are sort of the ones I've been getting it, because I've been using it for a month or so now. The first one being, why a lithium battery? Lithium obviously being more expensive. Yep. So why would you spend the money on lithium? And also, why did we use the Invicta battery? What's so good about it?
Yeah, so basically lithium batteries, yeah, they do cost more. However, they outperform AGM 2 to 3 times better. Their weight, like an example here, we've got a 22 kilo battery. To replace that with AGM, you'd be looking at 90 kilos.
Yeah, to get that 200 amps of AGM,
that's correct,
for like 3 times the weight.
That's correct.
They'll probably roll the car on the first rock step I came to.
Yeah, I mean, if something happens, it's going to come through. On top of that, lithium batteries have built-in, like, a battery management protection system.
Yeah.
So if anything was to go wrong, it has the ability to basically switch itself off.
So say you were to have like an inverter or some part fail, then it could sense that and switch itself off before you burnt the car to the ground.
Yeah, and look, we've done testing in the shop here to prove the theory, and what we have seen is that if there was a catastrophic failure or a motor vehicle accident where a cable shorted, the battery will actually pick that up in terms of like a dead short before a fuse will blow, and it'll actually switch itself off as a safety feature.
Yeah, so big safety on them there.
Massive.
I think the other point, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, being you can use a lot more of their charge.
Yeah, so a lithium battery you can discharge down to about 90%.
Yeah.
AGM's typically 50%. However, at that 50% mark, they struggle.
Yeah.
Lithium will give you pretty much full power down to that 90 to 95% mark.
Yeah.
So your accessories run trouble free. They don't get slower with low voltage.
Yeah, so with my 200 amp hour battery there, I can actually, I've got 180 usable amps, whereas that was AGM.
Yep.
I'd have a 90 kilo battery in there,
Yep.
and I can only use, say, 100 amps of that.
Yeah, so I guess when we're looking at amps, the best way to put it is the discharge rate on this battery is 180 amps continuous, and that'll power that inverter, no issues at all. A lot of batteries aren't matched to the inverter or the accessories correctly, so it is a bit of a safety issue.
And then that's one of the reasons why you sort of recommended and used the Invicta battery to go over this system, because it can do that continual discharge.
Everything adheres to the warranty of the battery, which is a 7-year warranty, by the way. But everything for all the devices that are actually drawing from that battery are specifically set up so it doesn't overload that battery or cause issues.
Yeah, okay, cool. Second question, well, what people want to know is why should they spend the money on REDARC gear? Because it's, I don't know, is it the most expensive, or it's definitely up there?
Yeah, look, REDARC is, it is one of the pricier options for 12-volt, charging accessories and battery management. But being an independent auto electrical workshop, we have tried pretty much every brand out there. We know a lot of the science behind them, and we landed back on REDARC nearly every single time. So what we found with REDARC is, first of all, the majority of their gear is Australian made.
Yeah.
It's made to a really high standard.
Yeah.
A lot of their gear is dust and water resistant.
Yeah.
So, and it also stands up to vibration. So if you're doing corrugated roads, it doesn't seem to affect it. The REDARC gear, as you can see on your panel here, it's a lot more slimline, so it fits and works well together.
Yeah.
So mounting is a lot better.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing too is REDARC offer very good warranties on their products. If installed correctly, you shouldn't have any dramas, but if there is, by chance, something goes wrong, they have a network around Australia where you can actually get it looked at with minimal fuss or disruption to your trip.
Yeah, because I think you were telling me the story before. You had a guy come in here the other day with like a REDARC toe brake thing, and it's having a couple of issues with, and it was even like installed incorrectly or something. It wasn't installed here down in Sydney.
Correct.
He came here, it was past its warranty and everything.
Yeah.
And they said, put a new one in, we'll pay for it, we'll pay for your time, like no questions asked.
We had a unit first where it was wired incorrectly, which actually affected how it operated.
Yeah.
That wiring had caused it to fail.
Yeah.
A phone call to REDARC, they actually agreed to honour that warranty out of goodwill because it was out by a couple of months.
Yeah.
Even despite being advised it wasn't wired right. So that's, in terms of backup to a customer, that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and you were saying that there's a network all around Australia. So if I go on a trip around Australia, like a lot of this sort of gear from, I don't know about all, but you said other companies at times, they'll say just go back to where you got it installed, figure it out. Whereas REDARC has, what do you call it, the Red Network or something?
It's a fairly new initiative. It's called the REDARC Red Network, and what that is REDARC have paired up with various auto electrical shops around Australia. They provide additional training to those shops, and as part of that program, anything that we supply and fit to a vehicle comes with an additional 12 months warranty, which gets registered with REDARC. Yeah. Now, if someone does have a slight problem or anything wrong with the REDARC gear, that network is Australia-wide. So a phone call to REDARC or the place of install, such as us, and we can just set you straight to the nearest, authorised Red Network dealer, and it can be dealt with. Yeah.
So if I'm over in WA and I have a problem, I can just get sent somewhere over there, can get fixed up.
100%.
Yeah. No, it kind of sounds, we don't actually work for, well, I guess you kind of work for REDARC, but it's more just answering the question here of why REDARC, and I guess there's a lot of good reasons there.
And it was a choice that we made. I mean, we're independent. We can pick any brand out there to allow us. So I was just saying, don't get me wrong, there's fantastic brands on the market, but what suited our business in terms of quality and backup to our customers and reliability was REDARC every time.
Yeah, so that, I guess, I've answered why you'd spend the money on it, what you're getting there. And they're, as you said, suited for Australian conditions to handle the corrugations of the outback, water, dust, water, all that stuff.
Like we fit tons of REDARC gear here, and we have literally no comebacks on it. So it's fantastic.
Couple more questions. One here, which is a bit of an interesting one. how long will my fridge run? Which is always hard to answer, but have you got any?
Like the first question we get every single time, how long will my fridge run?
Yeah.
Let's use your Bushman's fridge as an example here.
Yeah.
On this system with a 200 amp hour battery, without any assistance or charging, 4 to 5 days.
Yeah, okay.
It varies depending what time of year it is and what's in the fridge and what temperature you have it on. So if it's the middle of summer, the canopy doors are down, you've got it set to freezing temperature, that might reduce to 3 days because they just don't stop cycling. However, generally 4 to 5 days, no issues at all.
Yeah, or if I'm down in the snow and it hardly needs to run,
it may extend out longer.
Yeah. All right, and then the final question, cost of the system. So if you want to come and get something like this done here for you guys, like, is there a bit of a cost breakdown and what it all involves?
Yeah, so when we do quote these jobs up, we provide an itemised quote so people can see what's going on. But just a really good ballpark figure for a system like this, supply and install, and with solar on the roof as well, you're looking between $14,000 to $16,000.
Yeah, okay. And have you got a percentage, say, of that's parts and versus labour?
Labour wise is about 30 to 35 hours, and that includes making the board.
So it's a full week job basically.
When we get these jobs in, it's 3 days minimum in our workshop from start to finish. Most of the time before the customer gets to us, but we do take a deposit and we have the board wired ready to go. So we can try and be more efficient and get it back to them.
And then with mine, like, it's kind of the top of the range in the fact that I've got the biggest, not the biggest, I know it's 3,000 watt, but I've got one of the bigger inverters. I've got everything you need. I assume they'd be smaller and more simple options. Like I've gone for the biggest, bestest one.
This is like the pinnacle of setups. In my opinion, there's not much better you can get than what we've got here because it covers every need when you're off grid. We do packages below this. We do 2 more aluminium boards similar to this. But they have, one actually has a 2,000 watt inverter and a 200 amp hour battery, a lithium battery. But it does away with the red vision screen, and we utilise the Bluetooth monitoring in the Invicta lithium battery. So similar power features to this, but we don't have the user control. And then below that, we do make another board, which is a 1,000 watt inverter, and it's paired with about, say, 25 or 40 amp charger. And it can have any battery, whether it be 100 amp hour or 200, depending on what fits.
So there's a few options. Sorry to cut you off, but there's a few options there based on, I guess, what you want to spend and what you want out of it.
We can start with simple, reliable setups, and we can push all the way up to these full customisable, complete off-grid systems.
Okay, cool. Alright, I think that's about all the questions answered. Thanks for your time. And thanks for the unreal system.
You're welcome, mate.
It's been awesome.
Hope you love it. Cheers.
And like on a high country trip, it just worked so well. And in the past, I've always had problems with running out of power. The biggest thing, probably running out of power and not being able to charge it up quick enough. But not even close. I think the closest I came was this got down to 50 something. I can't remember. It was like 50% So I still had heaps left.
You've still got a few days on your fridge on that, and then at half a day of driving, you're back to 100% again.
That's right. All right, awesome. Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks, mate.
One last thing that Mitch has just shown me is there's actually an app for that battery too, because it has that internal monitoring thing. So this is the Invicta app, and it shows you volts, discharge, capacity, health, status, shows you what's going out of it, shows you its temp, and then this is like its safety feature. So if there's a short circuit or something, like this will go red, show it's protecting it, and like shut it down. So super cool. Another last feature there of that Invicta battery.